Liberal Gen Z YouTuber, friend of mine and friend of the show, Adam Mockler, once again appeared on CNN to brutally humiliate MAGA stooge Scott Jennings to his face in a glorious takedown that I can't wait for you to see. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, Adam does it again. We got to sing his praises and look through the highlight reel, starting with this one.
But he's doing a speech with her so that he can grab attention, so that people understand what's happening. On a second note, it's solidarity between two people in New York who have been relentlessly attacked by Trump and who will continue to be relentlessly attacked. I mean, Zohran's attacks from Trump are just beginning, and so is James's trial just beginning. So I think it's a good move to draw attention to the solidarity of these two New Yorkers.
So he's referring to New York mayoral candidate and Democratic nominee Zohran Mamdani having an event with New York Attorney General Letitia James, both of whom are, yes, as Adam points out, from New York and have been targeted by Donald Trump. Letitia James quite recently with an actual lawsuit from the Trump Department of Justice, even though the previous occupant of the particular Justice Department, Eric Siebert, the U.S. attorney appointed by Trump, said that he didn't think a case could be credibly brought against Letitia James. Trump shit-canned him. Trump fired him and replaced him with a personal stooge who brought the case anyway. And it doesn't look like it's going to go well, but you never know. So Adam's making the case that, yeah, it's good to see that the likely future mayor of New York City and New York's attorney general, both of whom have been targeted by Trump, forging a bond and establishing an alliance. And I agree.
Government. Increasingly, you're hearing Republicans saying we need to fix the healthcare
you said
part of this. Like they recognize it's a problem.
You said that Democrats are dying on this hill, but a lot of Republicans are climbing up the same hill right now. Marjorie Taylor Greene has been outspoken about it. Mike Johnson got confronted on C-SPAN the other day by a Republican. I don't know. I know I'm a lot younger than you, so I'm closer to like 5th grade government 101, but this...
Just want to stop right there. So the last time that Scott and Adam faced off, and of course Scott was humiliated, he took a shot at Adam's age, because Adam's like 23, I think. He just turned 23, just had a birthday. And so he's just actually like flipping it around. Like, yeah, I know I'm a lot younger than you, and therefore I'm much more refreshed on, basic civics, unlike you. I think that's great how he's flipping around the age attack that Jennings made against Adam, which, in the first place was really ridiculous, because all that meant was you're getting your ass kicked on live TV by a guy half your age with half your experience, but twice your brains.
It takes compromise. If you have 53 Republicans and you can't get 7 Democrats to sign on, that means they're not compromising. There were 13 CRs passed under Biden because they let Republicans into the room and they said, listen, you guys can talk to us. We'll talk to you. We'll negotiate. In this case, Democrats are essentially being shut out, and Donald Trump is posting AI memes of Hakeem Jeffries with a sombrero. So if you want to talk about a circus...
It's a meme war.
So that's, I think her last name is Downey. She's the other MAGA commentator there, trying to back up Scott. Doesn't help. They're both sorely outmatched and outclassed there. But again, a great point, which is that whether we liked it or not, and I did not like it, but I had to deal with it, when there was a government shutdown potentially on the horizon, when there were the debt ceiling negotiations, unfortunately, the Biden administration dealt and cooperated with Republicans and actively negotiated with Republicans. Then Kevin McCarthy was the speaker at the time, and it frustrated a lot of Democrats. I understand Republicans getting frustrated too. I'm in the majority. We shouldn't have to negotiate. I totally understand that. But when push came to shove, Democrats were like, all right, fuck it. Let's negotiate. I'm going to get more of what I want than you get what you want, Republicans. It's not going to be 50-50. It's going to be 70-30, 80-20. But I recognize that in order to get this ball moving, I have to give you something meaningful. And that's something that Republicans are refusing to do with Democrats, even though they need Democratic votes to reopen the government. So Adam is right to say, no, the onus really is on the Republicans to do what they demanded during the Biden administration, which is a negotiation.
Oh, Scott, that's not what we're talking about here. We are talking about Donald Trump's role in directing his attorney general about who to prosecute. That's what we're talking about.
Who then has to go to a grand jury and present evidence and go through the process like everybody else in this country.
But the first prosecutor, Eric Siebert, didn't want to do it, so Trump forced him out. I love watching the conservatives. Listen, I love watching the conservatives on this panel dodge and weave with zero evidence whatsoever of any weaponization. I've asked you this multiple times, and you have no evidence, yet Donald Trump tried to send Pam Bondi a DM. This should be embarrassing that you are defending the President of the United States as he is directly asking.
I'm defending a process of grand juries that's existed.
So it's great. Masterful chef's kiss. again, good on Adam for reminding. So it's very clever from both an argumentative perspective and also a content creator perspective. And Adam is one of the best in the business. He and Luke are just killing it, okay? So Adam went viral when he humiliated Scott Jennings a couple of weeks ago. We covered it in a previous video, and he's deftly tying that back. Like, you remember when I kicked your ass the last time I was here? I challenged you on this very topic and demanded proof. Show me proof of what you claim about Joe Biden, and you failed. I provide the evidence. You can't provide evidence of your claim. I win, you lose. I always win, you always lose. I love it. It's really powerful energy coming from Adam by tying it to their previous conversation. Also note Scott Jennings saying, we believe in grand juries here. Well, grand juries also brought all the indictments against Donald Trump, asshole. The Manhattan indictments against Trump that ultimately resulted in 34 felony convictions, those were brought by grand juries. Grand juries indicted Trump. In Georgia, the RICO case against Trump, grand juries indicted Trump. The grand juries in both the federal cases, the classified documents case and the January 6th case, grand juries all brought back charges against Donald Trump. So by your own standard, Donald Trump is a criminal. So again, you always lose the debate. We always win because we just beat you with your own standard. But the thing is, Scott's not stupid. He's smart. He's a hypocrite. He's unprincipled, but that's the point. He knows that Adam will always win the debate, but the point is about owning the libs. What Scott is signaling here is that, listen, when we're in power, when Republicans are in power, I can say one thing on Monday and totally contradict myself on Tuesday and still have this look on my face because I know what I'm doing. What I'm signaling to you is that you can attempt to hold us to our standard. You can attempt to hold us to our principle or our publicly stated principle. And it doesn't matter. You're powerless here because we will gleefully defy our own principle. We'll gleefully defy our own standard because we have the power. And owning the libs, he can't own the libs in the debate. Scott always loses the debate when he's up against people like Adam and Catherine Rampell and others. That's not the point. The point is they want to own the libs with power. And that's actually much more important. It's much more important than winning a simple debate. So what you see from Scott here is like, okay, fine, you're right. I'm a hypocrite and you're always going to win the debate. But you know what? My side has the power. And my side is saying the very thing which you all said to us before, like, hey, a grand jury brought these indictments. Maybe we should take them seriously. But it doesn't matter. They've got the power. So anyway, it's just so frustrating. Oh, grand juries matter. Well, what about Trump? Trump had all those grand juries bring indictments against him. Well, that doesn't count because that's Trump. Okay, Scott, here's another clip.
Turnout to vote are typically voting.
So Biden never weaponizes DOJ, and that's what you're saying. Biden never asked.
No, he absolutely did.
When did he ask Merrick Garland? When did he ask Merrick Garland to go after someone? Trump sent a DM to Pam Bondi. This is unprecedented.
The Merrick Garland who sent the parental rights memo that basically demonized
and Biden asked him to do that when did
Biden? I'm going
to ask you a simple question. When did Biden ask him to do that?
Garland collaborated with Biden
to send that memo
ask him to do that? Weaponizing the FBI and law enforcement.
Garland collaborated with Biden.
With the Biden administration, yes.
Okay.
That was their
Garland
policy.
Collaborated
it was
with
the
Biden.
administration's policy.
And I think that Adam's question, and it's a question I guess apparently this comes up on the show every other day, is where is the evidence that was directed by the White House? Where's the evidence that it was directed? And I'm going to broaden it, like not just the president, because you could argue that if you're going to compare apples to apples, the direction needs to come from the president, but from the White House. Where's the evidence of that?
Where's the evidence they disagreed with it? Is this not his administration's
disagreeing
policy?
with it is not a crime.
That's a totally different.
Is it not his policy?
Thing.
Was it not his administration's policy?
Where is the evidence that?
Where is the evidence that he wasn't happy with his own administration's policy?
But hold on a second, Scott. I actually think that's a really important point because I want
to stop right there for just a second. We'll play the rest of it. So again, note the backpedaling and the goalpost shifting here. So again, Adam has them cornered. They're totally screwed. He has them dead to rights. Show me where Joe Biden ordered or directly pressured his attorney general or his Justice Department to prosecute a political opponent or to not prosecute a political ally. Okay? They have nothing, right? The thing they cited before is, well, there was a Politico or New York Times article that said that Joe Biden was pissed that Donald Trump wasn't prosecuted sooner or more aggressively. So what? That doesn't matter because you're right. Presidents are, in fact, entitled to their opinions. Donald Trump is entitled to his opinion about who the Justice Department can or should prosecute. And I don't mind him having those opinions and bitching about it in private. But what he shouldn't do, what no president should do, Biden, Trump, Obama, Bush, it doesn't matter. What no president should do is be actively, directly pressuring the Justice Department by way of direct messages, as Adam points out, to Attorney General Pam Bondi, Donald Trump tried to send her a Truth Social direct message, but he's so stupid he accidentally posted it publicly, but it was still a public instruction to his Attorney General. If Joe Biden had tried to send Merrick Garland a Twitter DM or a Facebook DM and accidentally posted it in public, hey, Merrick, where the hell are we on the Trump prosecutions? We look like idiots. You need to be going after Donald Trump and Jim Jordan and, so on and so forth. Then Scott would have a point. And Joe Biden would be just as bad as Trump. But that never happened because Joe Biden is objectively morally superior. And again, it comes down to Scott and his sidekick here are destined to lose the debate because they have no evidence. And you see her scramble in real time. She's like, well, they collaborated with the White House. Where's your proof? Well, where did they say that? Where did the White House say that they had a problem with it? Well, that's also political interference, you moron. If Merrick Garland were to prosecute or not prosecute somebody, and the Biden White House were to say, yes, I agree with that, no, I don't, that is the sort of corrupt intervention in the White House that we tend to criticize. So again, they're saying, well, we have no evidence that he tried to stop it. That's not the standard, lady. That's not the standard, Scott.
It is agreement or disagreement. Both of those things would be involving themselves in what's going on at DOJ in a way that most presidents don't, and that Donald Trump is. So whether or not they said do this or don't do that, both of those things would actually be off limits in a world in which DOJ is allowed to pursue.
That's what the executive
a world in which DOJ is allowed to pursue the rule of law.
If Joe Biden was mad about Merrick Garland going after ordinary parents, he couldn't have put a stop to it. But I think he loved it.
Do you think that the president should be engaged one way or another, saying affirmatively or saying negatively? About what the DOJ is doing?
I have told you many times. I think it's fine for the president to express opinions about how his administration operates.
He directly asked her. I love watching the conservatives duck and dodge. No answer.
He's right. There is no answer. And again, this was not Scott Jennings' position under the Biden administration. If Joe Biden had publicly expressed his preference to have Trump prosecuted, Scott Jennings would not have been okay with that. Scott Jennings was like, what the hell is this corrupt president doing? How dare he do this? That's the point. It's not about principle. It's purely about leveraging power. Scott is 100% contradicting his previously held positions because to him, Democratic administrations are forbidden from prosecuting Republicans. You just can't do it. It's invalid. It's unconstitutional. No, we get to do whatever we want. You can't do that. You can't prosecute us because that's political prosecution under no circumstances. Republican administrations, however, well, I mean, my God, yeah, of course, they can and should prosecute any Democrat they want whenever the hell they please. And if the Republican president wants to weigh in on that or, express an opinion or directly, publicly pressure or order the administration to do so, well, that's okay. So Democrats have to get that. Like, I hope Republican politicians are recognizing how what Scott's saying here is a microcosm of the MAGA movement in general. They don't care about principle. It's about power. So maybe Democrats should get the power first and keep it out of Republicans' hands so as to prevent this sort of abuse. Food for thought. Win elections, more people. Here's another clip.
Gotten 60 votes.
Trump is ruling via executive order.
If you want to talk about rule by executive order, Biden issued a ton of executive orders.
Donald Trump on his first day issued a historic amount, and since then he has been subverting Congress. He appointed Elon Musk in a special position, and it seems like they were subverting the power of the purse the entire time. At the end of the day, Congress has been Donald Trump has been stomping on them, not even paying attention to them. He has absolutely been consolidating power by appointing loyalists into key positions across agencies.
Again, great point by Adam there. This idea that Trump and Biden were equitable or even comparable with respect to number of executive orders issued is absolutely absurd. And again, unfortunately, Scott is not helped because his sidekick here, I don't think Scott's stupid. I think he's a hypocrite. Unfortunately, I think Scott's sidekick here is stupid, as you're about to see.
So I agree that Congress needs to rediscover its agency and actually start acting like Congress, start legislating, end the shutdown, all of that jazz. But I think it would be really silly to accuse Trump of being, again, this unilateral executive when under the Biden administration, the Obama administrations, they maximized their mandate fully. We remember Obamacare was the hallmark achievement of Obama's term. We forget how extremely controversial, divisive, that was at the
that
time.
Was passed with a supermajority in Congress.
But the point is that he pushed it.
Oh, it's so painful looking at me, Philip's face.
I mean, that was Trump a legislative accomplishment that was passed with. They needed 60.
That's embarrassing. That is, yes. Obamacare was a result of legislative accomplishment. Obamacare wasn't the result of an executive order. He got it passed through Congress. So that's embarrassing. That's embarrassing. Well, Obama had a lot of executive orders. They ruled through executive order. Look at Obamacare, this thing that wasn't done via executive order. Pretty pathetic shit. We're going to close on this one final clip of Adam where he makes a really, really good point about the ceasefire deal. Now, again, this conversation occurred last night. Since then, as I mentioned in a previous video, there have been credible reports where both Israel and the Palestinian Defense Force are each accusing the other of violating the ceasefire because I think a handful of Palestinian citizens and civilians were shot by the IDF. The IDF says, well, they were violating the ceasefire by going into a no-go zone, and the Palestinian civilian defense or civil defense were like, no, they were in these civilians were in a perfectly acceptable area. But right now, like, there's credible reporting that the ceasefire that Trump brokered has already been violated. But before that happened, Adam made a really good point about the ceasefire, the future, and giving Trump credit.
Trump really values being seen as a peacemaker, and credit where credit is due. This ceasefire was amazing to see. I was tearing up at all of the videos of hostages being reunited with their families. I also think it's important to be very accurate about how we're reporting this. The peace deal that has been proposed has not been signed. The peace deal that Israel agrees to, the 20-point peace plan, Hamas is very likely to agree to for a few reasons. First of all, it necessitates the dismantling of all of their military arms. It doesn't seem like they're going down that direction, even though they should. It also necessitates them never returning to power as governance over civilians, and it doesn't seem like they're headed that way either. So I just think that Hamas has spent the past 24 hours executing people who dissent, people who are pro-Israel or pro-Palestinian Authority. I think we need to spend more time talking about phase 2 and the actual peace deal rather than some Nobel Peace Prize when that hasn't even been achieved yet.
That part right there, I really want to end with that. When people are demanding credit, again, give credit due where the ceasefire is concerned. But the ceasefire, again, may have already been broken. Number one, a ceasefire is, number two, is not a peace deal. Number three, Trump and Biden worked on a ceasefire plan together right as Biden was leaving office and Trump was re-entering it. It made it just a couple of weeks, and then it fell apart on Trump's watch. Trump failed to enforce it, and I refuse, and so should every other sane person, refuse to give Trump credit for shit that has not happened just because he thinks it will. That's not how it works. And by the way, when people are like, why don't you give Donald Trump credit? The first or second question out of my mouth is, did you ever give Joe Biden credit for arranging for the release of 140 Israeli hostages? Did you ever give Joe Biden credit for a number of domestic or foreign policy achievements? If the standard is liberals have to give Trump credit for everything, but conservatives won't give Biden credit for anything, that's not how that's going to work, and I'm not obligated to play by a different set of rules. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.